comment, rate, subscribe, merch in the description. Check out our Facebook pages. We got marketplaces you can buy and sell stuff on. This is my Hirudegarn draw control deck. One copy of the leader. 4 Colossal Malice Hirudegarn. 4 Hirudegarn Calamity Complete. 4 Hirudegarn Catastrophic Combination. 4 Hirudegarn Catastrophic Comeback. 4 Tapion Calamity Challenger. 4 Tapion Hero of the Calamity. 4 Gawasu Manipulated Supremacy. 4 The Coming Calamity. 4 Chill's Army Reinforcement. 4 Dimension Magic. 3 Janemba Wicked Agent of Destruction Unison. 3 Raditz Giant Force Unison. 3 Assist Gold Tanks Absolute Unison. And 1 Baby Hatchet Obsidian Destroyer. So the main, basic strategy in this deck is obviously you want to awaken, so you can get your leader's awaken ability along with the effect of Gawasu Manipulated Supremacy and Janemba the Wicked Agent of Destruction. You want to obviously want to use its +0 ability from time to time, but you definitely want to get to the, you want to also incorporate the +1 effect. Obviously you can't do both in the same turn, so you do one turn and the next turn you can do the crit effect. A lot of times you won't have to do this. This is just like an optional strategy where you combine the +0 ability of this card with Gawasu, so you can drastically manipulate your opponent's draws. For example, you use Gawasu's ability to manipulate the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck, put them in any order you want, then trigger a wicked, Janemba Unison's +0 ability, which will make you and your opponent both draw a card. Right, so you're putting a card in your opponent's hand on purpose. Right, and then your opponent mills a card from the top of the deck. So you're putting something in the hands, you have no problem them having in the hands, and then the next card is the card you don't want them to have, which is the card you'll end up milling. If you're very aggressive, like you like to attack a lot, obviously you want to mill your opponent's negates, right? Always got to keep in mind that battle cards are the cards that do you the most damage. I mean, Unison can do damage too, but your opponent can only have 1 Unison at a time, so it's not that big of a deal if your opponent has 1 Unison, right? But battle cards, you definitely want to always mill your opponent's battle cards through this effect, so that way the opponent can't establish a board, your opponent can't go up chains, or do anything else that is battle card related. Using this to get rid of your opponent's God-Sealing Trunks, for example, as an example, is good, right? You want to get rid of your opponent's counterplay battle cards, your topos, and the list goes on of using this card to mill those types of cards after the effect of Gawasu, right? So that's the synergy these 2 cards have in that regards. But with the factor of making it hard for your opponent to draw anything good, you don't want to hit their life points, right? Attack their life and then add something good to their hand. So that's where Janemba having the +1 ability of gaining crit is useful, because then you can, crit your opponent. And because it's a +1 ability, this Unison will stick on the field a lot longer, because you're constantly giving it a +1, so it stays on the field longer. Your opponent has to attack it a lot or double strike the daylights out of this card in order to get it off the board, which is a lot of resources the opponent is going to have to put in order to try to get rid of this. So that's good for you, bad for them, right? Because they're focusing on this and not your leader. Not focusing on winning the game, they're focusing on trying not to lose, right? So that's always good in that regards. That's the synergy those cards have. So that's the basic generic strategy in here. Hirudegarn, when it's awakened, has the ability that when this card attacks, draw 1 card. Then if you have 4 or more energy, your opponent chooses 1 card from the hand face on top of the deck. So that's the effect you want to get. So after turn 4, is when you're going to be having this effect of controlling your opponent's draw, because you're going to be putting stuff back. You're going to be using Gawasu to manipulate the top cards of the deck, so that way if they do draw for the turn or for a card effect, they'll be drawing what you want them to draw, not what they prefer to draw, right? So there's the draw control aspect of the deck I was talking about. So, you know, basic strategy there. One of my favorite generic blue strategies to manipulate my opponent's draw, so that way it gives me control of the game. Also have to remember that your opponent tends to draw, right? They tend to draw from like their leader and stuff, so being able to control their draws, that way they're not drawing good stuff, is what you want. You don't care if they draw stuff that's only, like, you don't care if they draw super combos because they're only going to use it to combo. You know, super combos aren't threats, you know, by themselves, right? You don't care if they draw, if your opponent draws a whole bunch of unison because they can only play one at a time anyway. And the list goes on and on, right? It's the battle cards you want to deal with, and this is a good way of countering, controlling, you know, beating those battle cards. Especially if your opponent has a combo deck or strategy, you're able to defeat it with this deck's, you know, basic line of play. So enough of that. So that's the basic thing, and then of course we have evolution strategy in this deck. So we got 30k beaters up in here that you can evolve into low energy. So that's what we got there. So I'm not using the new Hirudegarn leader because the new one's meh. But I've always been a fan of this one. I like the whole draw control aspect of this leader. So, plus this leader has the, when you have 4 or less life, you untap 2 of your energies, so that comes in handy when you're comboing, especially with this deck's evolution chain. Being able to go up the chain, untap 2 energy, and then continue the chain. You know, it's a nice little strategy there. You know, synergy there. When this card attached a leader card, you may choose one battle card from your hand and place it into the drop area, and if you do, draw 2 cards. So this, you know, this basically is a draw 2 leader, you know, on swing, so gotta love that. So you can deliberately send stuff to the drop with this effect, of course. You know, specifically battle cards like Catastrophic Comeback, Hirudegarn. You don't have no problem with this being in the drop area because it has the ability to bring itself back from the drop through its effects. So it's worth discarding it for this effect. Pretty much all your 4, like your Hirudegarn, so this level 3 card, this 3 cost card, this 4 cost card, this 1 cost card, you have no problem discarding it for the effect of the leader, because you have the Coming Calamity, which can let you grab a 4 cost or less card for your drop or deck and play it, being whether it's a Tapion or a Hirudegarn card, which this is a Hirudegarn, this is a Tapion, obviously that's a Tapion, so you have no problem discarding these to the drop, because you can always bring it back with that card, the Coming Calamity, so you have no problem discarding for this effect. So that's the leader. Colossal Malice, Hirudegarn, EXT Ball, pay 2 blue, 2 of anything. You need a Hirudegarn with an energy cost of 7 or more. Here's the 7 drop for that. He's 30k with barrier, which is nice to have barrier. So that's very useful. You don't have to worry about certain cards like what's his name, Charismatic and Frieza, or anything similar to that, touching him because he has barrier. First auto, when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and up to 1 card from their hand, and then place them on top of the owner's deck in any order, which is an awesome effect, and that's the type of effect I expect from Hirudegarn. So that's why I wanted more of that effect, which is why I like the fact that when I saw that effect, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely the set for Hirudegarn, right? So definitely got to combine it with the leader, because using this to send a card from my opponent's hand to the top of the deck, send a battle card to the top of the deck, right? Swing with the leader and put another card from the hand to the top of the deck. That's 3 cards I put on top of their deck, right? Which is going to make it hard for my opponent to, you know, to draw good, right? Because I put back a whole bunch of stuff he already had, right? So, or he or she already had. And then on top of that, throwing Gawasu's effect, and then it's like, you know, I'm manipulating the the next 3 draws, right? The next 3 turns. My opponent's drawing the way I want them to, not the way they want to, right? And it does depend, you know, how I set this up, right? How I use the effect. Because I can trigger this effect, right? Grab 2 cards and put it on top of my opponent's deck, right? Then use go also to manipulate the top 3 cards of my opponent's deck, right? And then swing with the leader and put a card from their hand on top of the deck. So right there, I just drastically, you know, manipulated the top of their deck. Essentially 4 different ways. So it looks like 4 cards I manipulated within that setup. So I love that. I love controlling opponent's deck. Second auto, when your opponent attacks with one of their cards, you can, if your leader card's Phantom Demon, which it is, you may send this card and 1 card from your hand to your warp. If you do so, negate the attack, then play this card from your warp at the start of your next main phase, which is nice. I wish he was blocker barrier. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have. I'm surprised none of these have, you know, blocker. Like, this have barrier and dual attack. That's nice, but blocker would have been better. This should have been a blocker. It's nice that this has triple strike capabilities, but, you know, you think the 9-drop would have been the triple striker. This would have been the barrier, the 30k barrier. But anyway, point is, it would have been nice for them to be barrier blockers. That would have been pretty cool. But I'll take what I can. At least this can negate an attack, so that's useful. And then, of course, I have to accompany, you know, back it up with stuff like Radish Giant Force, which is a blocker, shows, you know, reinforcement, and Dimension Magic. You know, gotta keep my defenses up. That's why we've been badass if they were blockers, because that just adds more defense to the deck. So right now, these are just mainly swords that I can use, so I have to still have defense regardless to make up for it. Having a shield and using a shield as a sword is always useful, right? So this is pretty cool that it has the ability to negate an attack, so that's useful. And it's a negate that it's not a counter attack, right? So you don't have to worry about like a counter or some type of effect that triggers in response to a counter card being used. So sometimes you might be in a scenario like that where it's like, if you play a counter attack, you might get burned or something bad will happen, right? So at least this lets you negate an attack without it being a counter attack, without triggering another card effect, right? So that's really nice to have. And of course, this you can use this effect multiple times in a turn if you have multiple copies of this. Again, the fact that it's barrier is really nice because it's barrier plus with the ability to negate an attack. You know, it's pretty much a reliable defense. So at least more reliable than if it didn't have barrier. The fact that it has barrier makes it a little bit harder to get rid of, so at least you can count on it protecting you. Now 30k body is hard to run over, so you can obviously play this, swing with it, and do all that good stuff, and still be able to negate an attack. Plus the fact that it has a negate ability makes it hard for your opponent to kill this by battle anyway. Right? You can negate any attack. You can negate a unison, a leader, and so on and so forth. Moving on. They already mentioned that you evolve this on a 7-drop. Alright. So we got the 7-drop Hirudegarn EX evolve for 2 blue. If you have 3 or more energies, so you gotta have 3 or more in order to evolve. And you evolve this on top of the 5-drop, and here's the 5-drop. Auto, if your leader card is a blue Phantom Demon, which it is, when this card is played, draw 1 card. So replace itself, which is nice. Then choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and place it at the bottom of his own deck. At the end of the turn, switch this card and 1 of your energy to active mode. This is alright, you know, the whole switching to active mode is like if it was a blocker, like a 30k blocker, switching back to active mode and untapping energy would be pretty useful because it, you know, helps you with defense, but it's not a blocker, it's just a 30k beater with the potential of becoming a triple strike. So it's like, okay, it could be a finisher in the right condition, but it doesn't have barriers. Like, it'd be better for the finisher to have barrier, right? It's a 7-drop, right? So, and it doesn't have barrier. So remember that part. It's like it doesn't have barrier, and it's a 7-drop. So it turning into a triple striker, aka a finisher, but still being 7-drop without barrier means it's vulnerable to Heron's lineage, which obviously I see a problem in that, because all the other levels have barrier, right? The 9 and the 5, but the 7 doesn't. The 7 has the potential to be a finisher, yes, but you made sure that it's not immune to Charismatic Villain Frieza, other cards similar to that. Was it Heron's lineage? So it's a good card, just not a great card, right? It's in the fact that at least I understand you're not going to give it these cards a blocker. At least should have gave the 7-drop barrier at least. You know, give it the impression that it is a powerful creature, right? You literally made this one weak for no reason. But anyway, moving on. Oh wait, the way you give it is triple strike is active main. If you have 4 more energy, right, kill turn, you send 2 hero cards from your drop area to the warp in order to give this card a triple strike for the turn. And of course our hero cards is Tapion and the other Tapion, so the 4-drop and the 1-drop. We have 8 heroes in the deck you can use for this card's effect. Then we have the 5-drop Hirudegarn, has barrier, has dual attack, so it's nice, you know, that it can attack twice, but it's only a 15k. Not bad, just not great. It would have been better if it was a 20k barrier dual attacker. That would have been a better thing, especially considering the fact that it is a 5-drop. But I guess they want you to try to get under, what is it called? Violent Rays, I guess. I want you to dual attack under Violent Rays. And they gave it barrier, so that's nice. EX evolve for 1 blue on top of a Hirudegarn card with an energy cost of 3. Here's the 3-drop for it. Auto, when this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battlecraft with energy cost 4 or less and return to the owner's hand. Decent effect. Would prefer it to send it to the top of my opponent's deck at least. I suppose, you know, I understand it'd be too strong to send it to the bottom of the deck, but at least to the top of the deck it would be less, it would be good, right? But, you know, take what you can. You know, it's not like this. See, the thing is, this makes it a little bit, bouncing it to my opponent's hand is useful when I can use it on my opponent's turn. The fact that I do this bounce effect on my turn makes it less, that whole bounce effect less useful, because, you know, it's on my turn. My opponent, you know, it's not that big of a deal bouncing something to my opponent's hand on my turn. Not saying that it's bad, because obviously you can use this to get rid of blockers. Doesn't ignore barriers, so it's not that useful against blockers that have barrier, like Deadly Defenders or anything similar to that, like a Deadly Defender or a blocker with barrier. So there's that. But at least this can potentially get rid of a blocker before you evolve to anything higher. So that's one thing. Active main, limit 1, so you can only do this 1 time a turn. Pay 2 blue. If your opponent has 4 or more energy, choose up to 1 green Hirudegarn card with, well, yeah, we don't use any of the green 6-drops in here. But for a different version of this deck, you know, you could take advantage of that ability to use this to evolve up to 6. For now, we just use this to help us, 1, take advantage of the dual attack, and then evolve up to our 7-drop, and our 7 gets us to 8. So here's 3-drop, has the active main. Well, let me read it backwards. The 3rd active main, limit 1, so you can only use it once a turn. Discard this card from your hand, look at up to 7 cards on the top of your deck, add up to 1 blue Phantom Demon from those cards, and add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. So this will, so turn 1 you can pitch this from your hand just so you can grab any of your Hirudegarns, your 9, your 7, your 5. Could actually grab another copy of the 3 if you wanted to. That way, every turn you can just, pitch one and deck, thin out your deck. So that's a strategy right there. Then it's second active main, Spirit Boost 1, you pay 1 blue. your leader card is a blue Phantom Demon, obviously, and you don't have a Phantom Demon card in play, which means you have none of your Hirudegarns in play. You can play this card for your drop here and then choose one card from your hand and discard it. So this is a way of reviving it from the drop, as long as you don't have a Hirudegarn in play. And its first active main, which is a free way of getting this from the drop to the battle area, is if your leader card is a blue Phantom Demon, which it is, choose one of your blue hero cards in your battle area, and then play this card from your drop area on top of that chosen card. So if you have your Tapion Hero of Calamity in play, for example, then for free you can take the Catastrophic Comeback Hirudegarn and put it on top of the Tapion, and that's how you can get a 3 drop out for 1 energy. Just by playing this, using this card's effect, that this can let you grab a 3 cost or less blue hero card or demon card. So you can, obviously the only real target for this effect that this does 3 or less is this will let you grab either another copy of himself or the Hirudegarn Catastrophic Comeback. So mainly playing this, that way it's like an extra copy of this. So this gets you this, and then this can be used, the first active main can be used to play itself for free on top of this, that kind of stuff. But this card's third ability allows you to grab any of your big pieces. Preferably you want to get if you pitch this, you're more likely going to grab the 5 drop, because you can always bring this one back. Especially if you play Tapion. Tapion gets you Catastrophic Comeback. You discard Catastrophic Comeback to use this effect, grab the Hirudegarn Catastrophic Combination, and then for free play the Hirudegarn Catastrophic Comeback on top of Tapion, so that way you have a 3 drop on the field, and all you would need is just 1 blue energy to EX evolve this on top of it, which is good. The thing that sucks is that this one right here, the 7 drop, you need 3 or more energy, so you won't be able to do this like any sooner than turn 3. And then of course this is a 4 energy evolve over here. So, but at least as soon as turn 1, you can definitely get this 3 drop out, and then on turn 2, be able to evolve into this bad boy, and be able to make any other play you want with the extra energy you have available. And then if you can awaken on tapping 2 energies, then you can use the 2 blue energies to play the 7 drop on top of the 5 drop after you awaken. And then of course you get your card's ability to draw, to be able to get choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and place on top of their deck. At the bottom of the deck, and then swing with the leader and take a card from their hand for the top of the deck. Go from there. So a lot of the heavy. So after turn 4, you should definitely have a lot of draw control. So there's that. Tapion, Calamity, Challenger, 20k double strike. So you gotta double strike. You can use them as a finisher. You can just use them to apply pressure. He has the EX evolve for 2 blue, and you need a Tapion with an energy cost of 2 or less. And of course we got a 1 drop here we can evolve on top of. Although when this card is played, draw a card, so it replaces itself, which is always good to have stuff that replaces itself. Active main, Spirit Limit 1 and Spirit Boost 1. Pay 1 blue, remove a counter from one of your blue unisons with 15k power or more. And of course here's a 15, here's a 19k, and here's a 20k, so you can remove a counter from any of those 3, whichever one you have in play. And you have to have 3 or more energy in order to use this active main as well, and then play this card game. So pretty much it's a turn 3 play. So yeah. So for example, what you can do is turn 3, pay 2 energy to play Janemba, for example, because it costs 2 to play, and you still have 1 energy left. You can do its +1 ability to give it crit. So that way it'll have 3 markers and it's 15k with crit, right? Then use the extra 1 energy to spirit boost 1 the Tapion, removing the marker, so that then play the Tapion, so that we have a 15k crit, and I'll have 2 markers after you play this one, and then a 20k double striker that you can swing at your opponent with. So on turn 3 you can do that. Then, like I said, it replaces itself, so it's almost like you played only 1 card per turn instead of 2 cards. So there's that. Tapion mentioned already. When you play this card, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and then add it to 1 blue hero or phantom demon card with energy cost 3 or less, or 1 blue unison with energy cost of specified cost of 2 among them and at hand. So this could potentially get you the Janimbo Wicked Agent of Destruction, which is good because this is one of your control cards because of the whole crit and the mill ability. Obviously, this also can be a finisher because it does have the ability to become a 30k triple strike. So it can also be a win con. The Wasu, obviously this lets you manipulate the top cards of your opponent's deck. If you have multiple copies of this in play, you can use each copy's effect. Usually, obviously, you want to do that after you do some manipulation. Like if you use this Gawasu to manipulate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck, and then use Janimba's ability to make both players draw a card and mill a card, right? So that way there's 2 cards less from the top of your opponent's deck, right? Then play the second Gowasu's ability, right? Trigger the second one's ability, and then manipulate the top 3 cards after that. And this will drastically help you, drastically control the top cards of your opponent's deck. So that's, goes back to the draw control aspect. So having multiple copies, used right, can wield you a lot of control. That's why he said manipulative supremacy. Manipulative supremacy. Where am I? Okay, I was on him. The Coming Calamity. Extra card activate, pay for play. Play up to 1 Tapion or Hirudegarn card with an energy cost 4 or less from your deck or drop area, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So this is just another way to help you get more cards on board. For example, help you get the Tapion, especially if you discarded the Tapion for your leader's ability. You can always bring it back with the Coming Calamity. The fact you can play from the deck is really awesome. Being able to play from the drop is useful, but playing from the deck is the best part of the card's effect, because that helps with deck thinning, deck thinning, deck winning. So taking out your battle cards through this card's effect, so that way, one, to get onto the board easier, right? And then you'll, so when you start using your draw effects, you're drawing into your negates, other key cards, especially your higher cost cards, will be the stuff that's left in your deck, so your chances of getting them through drawing will, greatly increase. So deck thinning, deck winning. So there's that. This could probably help you in situations where you can't play a battle card through the effect of a battle card or through the skill of a battle card. Like you might not be able to evolve or something like that. You get the idea of the basicness of if something would prevent you from playing a battle card through a battle card skill, this is the way you can play a battle card without a battle card skill. Right? This also doesn't negate the skill of the battle card you play, so you use Calamity, Coming Calamity to play Tapion Hero Calamity, you'll get his effect and look at the top 5 cards of your deck and then add a hero or phantom demon with 3 costs or less from your top 4 unison from the top of your deck to your hand, from those 5 to your hand. So right there you can thin out your deck just by playing this, and then playing this from your deck to take it out of the deck, right? So that's 1 less card in your deck, then use this to get 1 more card in your deck, so by playing 1 card you can end up getting 2 cards. This on board plus whatever you get from this card's effect. So that's one way of using this for deck thinning. And then of course you can use this card's effect to be able to grab Tapion, Calamity, or Challenger from the drop. It being 20k When you play this, you draw a card, so it replaces the coming calamity. So it's almost like you didn't play a card. So gotta love that. And then it's double striker, so that's always good. Then we have Chill's Army Reinforcement, counter attack if your leader card is mono blue, which it is. Negate the attack, play a Chill token with 10k power and it gains blocker for the turn. Permanent, if your life is 5 or less, you can activate this card's counter skill from your hand by adding 1 card from left to your hand instead of paying its cost. So you can play this pretty much for free by taking a life, negate an attack and create a blocker so you can stop a secondary attack or potentially stop a secondary attack, which is very useful. This is not a once per turn ability, so as long as you can play multiple copies of this, you have the life to play multiple copies, you can stop multiple attacks in a single turn. Dimension Magic, counter attack, if your leader card is blue, negate the attack, choose up to 2 blue energy and switch into active mode. Permanent, if you have 5 or more cards in your drop, sparking 5, right? You can play this card's counter skill for free by adding a card from left to your hand instead of paying its energy cost. So that's really nice. And the fact that this untaps 2 blue energies will allow you to play this by taking a life, right, for free. Right, so you take a life, play this for free, negate an attack, untap 2 blue energy. Those 2 blue energy could be used to play a Chill's Army Reinforcement to negate an attack and then make a token. And then let's say you have the second copy of Chill's Army Reinforcement in your hand, you can play the second one for free. And so right there you can potentially stop 5 attacks just by taking 2 life. And then you started off with 0 energy. So you start off with 0 energy, but you can still end up stopping 5 attacks potentially with a Dimension Magic and 2 Chill's Army Reinforcements. So that's a strategy right there you can use to defend yourself with a basic line of things. Janemba Wicked, Agent of Destruction. The +0 ability mentioned earlier, you and your opponent draw a card, then your opponent places the top card of the deck to the drop, so every time you trigger this effect, your opponent's taking 2 cards out the deck. So you could potentially beat your opponent through deck out. Again, making it hard for your opponent to draw good cards to battle you with can help you just slowly work your way to decking your opponent out, or to just beating them out with critical attacks, or just get them low enough with crit, and then start swinging with triple strike, double strike. You don't have to crit your opponent until they have 0 life, right? You just got to get them down to at least 4 life. So crit them down to 4, then from there just double and triple everything, right? So there's that. And then it has the course of +1 ability gives it crit until the turn, and then its -2 ability, it's an active main / battle ability, so you can use it at either time. If your opponent has 15 or more cards in their deck, not drop, in their deck, this card gets 15k power and triple strike for the turn. So, your opponent's already going to be trying to draw a lot. You're going to be milling them, forcing them to draw through this lead, some burst ability, stuff like that. So you're already going to get your opponent to a point where they're going to have be low on cards in their deck. So you'll be able to trigger this as a win con. So gotta love that. Then we have Raz Giant Force, 19k blocker, really good stats. Has the auto once per turn when it activates blocker, switch attack mode so you can block with it again. So you can get 2 blocks out of this card. +0 ability, active main, draw a card at the end of your turn for it's activable. So obviously you can play it, attack with it, trigger that ability, draw a card, and then you turn stand, you put it back in attack mode. So you can block with it twice in one turn, so you can attack and defend. So that's always good to have that. -2 ability, choose up to one of your opponent's battle card, return to the owner's hand, then at the end of the turn switch one of your blue energy to active mode. So this is a way of, clearing your opponent's board, getting rid of something problematic on the board. Especially if your opponent did some type of evolution chain to get something big on board, you can use this to get rid of that thing, and make them have to go through the chain again, or just ruin their plan completely. and the fact that this has the ability to block twice, as well as it untaps the energy, so that we could use that energy with Dimensional Magic, for example, and then of course Dimensional Magic can open up 2 energies so that we can play Chill's Army Reinforcement after it. It just greatly increases your defensive capabilities. So right there you have 3, 4, 5, 6 potential, defense right there just off of that. Those 3 cards. Then we have SS Gotenks, Absolute Unison, Dual Attack Blocker. So you can attack with it, restand it. You could attack again, or just keep it in active mode on the second time. So you can use it to block sort of shield strategy. It's a 20k, so really good for applying pressure, obviously. Because even if your opponent's awakened, in order to stop this card's attacks, to out-combo it, they'll need 10k combo power every time it attacks. So that's a lot of combo power your opponent's wasting just to try to stop this card from applying pressure. Also, it has the -2 ability to draw 2 cards, so which is really nice because the ability to play it -2 and draw 2 cards, more hand advantage, right? And then it has the -3 ability. Choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards, ignore and bear, which is very important, and place them at the bottom of your opponent's deck in any order, which is very powerful. So this can be very useful because sometimes you don't want something on top of your opponent's deck. Sometimes you don't want something in your opponent's drop area, right? Because it could potentially benefit from that. So you rather put it at the bottom of the deck, which is the best place to put any card. Any card, putting a card at the bottom or even the middle of your opponent's deck is the best place to put stuff. Unless they have the ability to search for it, right? So there's that. So this is a really powerful, utility card right here. It's a sword and a shield, or it's a double sword, right? So you have the potential of finishing the game with it. Because, the dual attack, it gives you the chances of having 2 shots at winning the game, right? And it has board wiping abilities if you use it right. And that's another thing. You can use the fact that it's a dual attacker, you can attack 2 battle cards with it, right? So that's 2 battle cards you get rid of by attacking with this card. Then use its -3 ability to get rid of 2 cards, so that's potentially 4 battle cards you get rid of off of 1 card. So that right there is, essentially a board wipe in itself if you use it that way. And then we have Baby Hatchet, Satan Destroyer. Our leader is blue. This is a 40k ultimate counter attack. If you have 3 or more energy, negate the attack, then play this card. Your opponent can't attack for the turn. So once you get to turn 3 and above, so obviously our goal is to get to turn 3 and above to play a lot of our main card strategies, and then of course use this to help us go even further beyond that turn. And then of course when you play this, your opponent can't attack for the remainder of the turn. Second permanent, if the leader card is mono blue, you can choose 1 other card in your hand and discard it instead of paying the cost of this card. That also pays counter skill from your hand. So if you have 3 or more energy, you can just discard a card and then play this card for free. So you get essentially a free turn once you have 3 or more energy. So with this card, it won't be that hard to get to turn 4 to do all your turn 4 stuff. And that's the end of the video.